The misunderstood sun in Libra. So a couple of keywords that is misunderstood about having a sun inside of Libra is that they are indecisive and too codependent. I do know a sun in Libra person who is not indecisive. Like, they know exactly what they want, but it's just that when it comes to things that they haven't really thought about, or they're not necessarily, they don't have an opinion on it, they prefer to just let other people take the lead. And most of the time there's a lot of things that a Sun in Libra person hasn't really come to a conclusion about, and they would just let other people, decide, also just because they want other people to be happy and please other people. So they might come across as being indecisive in that sense, but when it really comes to certain things that they are sure about, a Sun in Libra person is very decisive. So because Libra is right between the signs of Virgo, Leo, Scorpio, and Sagittarius, it's very likely that you could have your Mercury in Leo or Sagittarius or Scorpio, which is very, very not indecisive. With the sun being here, so the sun is actually exalted in the sign of Aries, so it does very well there. The identity is very well defined, and Libra is the opposite sign of Aries, meaning that the sun does not do well here. Okay, the identity of a sun in a Libra person is very not defined, and because it's in an opposition to the sign of Aries, and oppositions are kind of has a lot to do with other people around you, so they can have a lot of times in their lives when their identity, because it's not well defined, they link it to other people. So this can either happen in two ways. They link their identity to other people's identities, so they adopt other people's identities, but most of the time it's not going to be that case. Most of the time it's going to be that they can only find out who they really are, or be more confident with themselves when they are with another person, a partnership, a one-to-one partnership. So this really makes the sun in a Libra person able to go from being very super dependent to being super independent. So what can happen is when they are alone, they are completely lost of their identity. So they're searching for this other person to guide them, to show them the way. Then they get into a relationship or partnership with somebody who guides them or shows them, gives them a confidence about who they are, brings out their identity. And then they realize that they're better off with this other person, actually, because now they know, they kind of discovered things about themselves they didn't know before. So they go from being very dependent on that person to independent now, because they no longer need to be in that partnership. And now they want to explore this identity that they've gained. But what this really does create is a very good sense of wisdom, or a good sense of knowing about partnerships. So they can go from always needing another person to guide them to their identity, from being truly independent and then being able to help or guide other people when they're in relationships, when other people are in relationships. They realize later on in their life, often, sometimes, they begin to shine later on in their life in their ability to be able to choose the right partner for themselves, or be able to be in a relationship in a way that's really satisfying, because when they learn that they can separate their identity from the identity of their partner, they gain this balance in the relationship, which is very, very crucial, to not infuse your identity with another person when you're in a relationship and feel like you can't survive without them. So they, later on in their lives, they can really they shine in partnerships with other people. Their partner can view them as being, very balanced, very fair, give and take, you know, things like that. But before they can actually reach that stage, they go through periods of indecision, because indecisions of like being in a relationship but then not being in a relationship. And the reason why that's happening is actually because they need time to just kind of define their identity first by being alone. But in order for them to know that they need to be alone to define their identity, they first have to be in a partnership, to realize that they don't need that partnership, and then they could be alone. And then they go through periods of forming themselves, you know, coming to a conclusion about who they really are, and then realize that life can take them in the direction that they need to go, and they don't have to be pressured into making any decisions if they're not ready to make decisions. You see, the society nowadays is kind of one that's very much of like do, but most of the time, a lot of people in the world need time to process what it is that they really want. And oftentimes we make wrong decisions because we're pressured to make decisions when it's not the right time. So going back to the Sun in Libra, later on in their lives, they can meet the right partner and be a great partner in the right partnership when they let life take them to where they need to be. The other thing that the Sun in a Libra can do is link their identity to the way they look, because it is ruled by the planet Venus. They could, you know, spend a lot of time just kind of looking nice, dressing well, and that kind of thing. The tarot card that I've picked out that I think can really represent the Sun being inside of Libra, this is based on just my own interpretation, so I didn't base it on any kind of textbook, just what I feel going through the cards and thinking about the identity being inside of Libra. I chose this card right here. Hello, Miss High Priestess. There she is. She's very in tune with her intuition. And I feel that the Sun in a Libra person does have a very good intuition, but they're just so busy sometimes trying to listen to other people, please other people, being influenced by other people, that their intuition gets lost. But at the highest expression, they're very much the High Priestess, who can really listen to their own intuition, knowing when to make the right decision, not being pressured to make a decision when the time is not right, and being very wise in relationships. Priestess she's standing in the middle between two columns, a black column and a white column. So she's not one to be black and white. She's one to be in the gray zone, which is a perfectly fine place to be when you don't have to choose. Sometimes when you're listening to your own intuition, you're not making any decision, you're not choosing anything, and it's a perfectly okay place to be in, just to be with your own intuition. The High Priestess. So now I'd like to talk a little bit about my personal experience with Sun in Libra people. So I don't actually know a lot of people who have their Sun in Libra, but just from what I've noticed is that, of course, the first thing I would notice is that they're good looking. They really are good looking, but they're not necessarily like, they're not sexy, not in that sense. They're not like seductive, but they have a sense of style, I would probably put it. And they tend to have faces that they're not like beautiful, like a princess kind of a look, or like sexy and seductive kind of a look, but they're more of like, they look good. They are the definition of like what looks good. Like when you see models in like walking the catwalk, or models, you know, on some kind of cosmetic poster in magazines, that's the kind of look that a Sun in Libra person tends to have, is that they look like a model, they look good. And part of it has to do with the fact that they have a sense of style, then they can take care of themselves quite well, and some of them are just born that way, you know. And most of the time when I meet a Sun in Libra person, they tend to always be in a relationship with, they're usually not like single, roaming around on their own, usually not. Yeah, and I think that most of the time they're just, I wouldn't say that they're like good conversationalists, because I know like Sun in Libra who's not a good conversationalist, but they tend to be very pleasant to talk to. You know, they can speak in ways that flatter you a lot of the times. They like to give you compliments, flatter you, things like that. Yeah, so that's my take on the Sun being in the sign of Libra. If you are a Sun in Libra, or if you know someone who has their Sun in sign of Libra, then please feel free to comment below. I would love to read your thoughts and have a little chat and a conversation with you. If you haven't subscribed to this channel and you like this kind of a content, then please hit the subscribe button below and click the notification button so you'll be notified every time I post a new video. Bye!